What's up? I'm Tucker. We're going to talk about the Warriors today. These are my social links. Leave a like on the video if you enjoy it. Let's go. Okay, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Golden State Warriors. And I've already done a off-season video about the Warriors, but now that we understand where their picks are, and we've got some recent rumors about what their plans are going to be, I feel like now is a really good time to revisit what is one of the more intriguing teams in the entire offseason. The reasons why are pretty obvious. This is a team that showed that Steph Curry still has it. He can still be MVP Steph. And assuming that Klay Thompson comes back 90% of what he was next year, they've got pieces here to potentially be a top-tier team in the West. And the thing that held them back this year was not only the injury to Klay, but just a general lack of really quality rotation players. And it was just Steph and a lot of other guys, and no offense to guys like Juan Toscano-Anderson, but they just weren't a lot of really, really high-level competent NBA players. Now, there were certainly positive things for them this season, that being, of course, the Steph season. I think Wiggins was better than most people thought, and I do think they've found some guys like Toscano-Anderson that can help them and can be rotation players moving forward. But now the goal has to be one of two things. Fill out the rotation with some quality players that are going to be able to play 15 to 20 to 25 minutes per game in a potential postseason series. Assume that Klay is going to come back fully healthy, be like the old Klay, and then you've got a really high quality roster, or utilize some of those assets that you have that could turn into rotation players, the 7th pick, the 14th pick, and trade those things into a bit of like a fail-safe, extra star type guy if Klay doesn't come back fully healthy. Those are pretty much the options here, and I want to kind of go through both of those. So with the draft pick stuff specifically, again, we're kind of enlightened a little bit more in terms of what Golden State could be doing, what their plans would be, because we now know what picks they do and don't have. They have 14, and then that Minnesota pick that they got in the D'Angelo Russell trade ended up at 7. I'm sure they thought it was, or hoped at least it was going to be higher. But 7 is not a bad pick, especially in this class. I think a lot of the names, or the one name that I feel like gets connected to the Warriors the most is Davion Mitchell, because he seems like the most NBA-ready guy. He seems like a guy that can play for them right away. I don't think that's a bad selection at all, but I think the important thing for Golden State, whether it's by selecting players, whether it's via trade, whatever the case may be, they need to turn these assets, 7, 14, Wiggins, potentially Wiseman, into usable real NBA players. Because if there is a window here for them to be a top level, top 5, top 6 team in the entire league, it exists for about 1 to 2, maybe 3 more seasons, because we don't know what's going to happen with Draymond. Offensively, he has fallen off a cliff with everything other than passing. We don't know what's going to happen with Klay with his health. And yeah, Steph was awesome this year, but he's also 33, and you would imagine he's going to age well, but that's not something that I would necessarily take for granted if I was Golden State, which puts them in this weird situation that they've kind of been in for a couple of years, right? Like, do you trade the picks and Wiggins and Wiseman and go out and get a guy right now and go ahead and push yourself towards championship contention, or do you kind of bridge the gap between this era and the next era with Wiseman? And I think that is what the conversation centers around, is James Wiseman. So let's talk about him briefly. I don't talk about anything briefly. I don't know why I said briefly. Wiseman is a player that I think publicly most people assume is going to be traded. Most people assume the Warriors want to trade. Most people assume the Warriors aren't that high on him. But what I would say is I can't imagine their opinion of him has changed that much when a year ago they selected him with the 2nd pick of the draft ahead of someone like LaMelo Ball, who obviously had a really good rookie year. And this is a smart front office. Like, I can't imagine that they're now all of a sudden just trying to give away James Wiseman. He has to be a valuable piece to them. And I think people are a little bit more down on him than they should be, because it's not like this Warriors team is winning 20, 25, 30 games. They had a chance to make the play-in game. They made the play-in game. They almost made the playoffs. And Wiseman struggling to figure out what to do defensively, being raw offensively, didn't fit into what Golden State needed. They needed competent production in the front court. They needed someone that's going to be able to do winning things that rookies most of the time aren't able to do. And yes, when he got hurt, their season started to take off. But I don't necessarily think that that's an indictment of Wiseman as a player. I think it's just more so the situation that he was in. And he was just graded on a different scale than every other rookie. And if he was in Minnesota, if he was in Charlotte, I would imagine he would have had a very strong statistical rookie season and had a better opportunity to work through some of the issues that he had as a rookie, because they just didn't need to win games as badly as Golden State did, or at least that wasn't as much of a stated goal. Golden State led the league in payroll last year. Like, they weren't going to just tank. You know what I mean? So having someone out there that wasn't ready to be a competent NBA player just wasn't going to work for them. But I don't think that means that they have devalued him at all, and I don't think that means that he is going to be a bad NBA player. Now, is he going to be a star? I have no idea. All I know is that there is a significant amount of talent and potential there with Wiseman that even through the struggles was seen all of last year, and I definitely think that Golden State still views him as a significant asset. So my read on the situation and kind of some of the rumors that we've been getting would be that Golden State wants to package 7 and 14 and maybe Wiggins for a player, but I really don't think Wiseman is actually that much in the conversation, unless we're talking about like a Damian Lillard trade, right? But if we're not trading for like an all-star, all-NBA caliber guy, I think Golden State probably wants to use 7 and 14 to get a competent player within their rotation, because you're starting to build a lineup, right? Like you're starting to build Steph, healthy Klay, Wiggins, Draymond, and whoever, and maybe that guy is Wiseman, or maybe you think you need another guy so you can kind of continue to bring Wiseman along slowly. But there's the makings of a good NBA team here, and I think Golden State is more so trying to figure out a way to put competent players around Steph, Klay, and Draymond, rather than like, hey, we got to trade every asset we have for this big time guy. And I really don't think Wiseman is actually involved in as many trade discussions as it kind of seems like he is publicly. Now, in terms of what they can actually do with this roster this offseason, the one other sticking point is Kelly Oubre. Because as I said, they led the league in payroll this past season. They're basically at that number for next year, despite Bazemore coming off and Kelly Oubre's 14 coming off and not being re-signed yet for next season. So what I think is probably going to happen here in Golden State is they're going to keep one or both of these picks and select a player they think is going to help them next year, or potentially be a little bit more on the Wiseman timeline, and then try and get some value out of Kelly Oubre. Whether that be in a sign and trade, whether that be re-signing him, I honestly would be surprised if they re-sign him because of the payroll stuff, but you never know. And get value there. And again, just build the team up a little bit. Like, I don't think that they're necessarily in a situation where they feel like they need to go out and trade for Damian Lillard. I'm sure they're exploring it. I'm sure they're talking about that and possible Ben Simmons trades. That's their job to do that. But I don't see them as a team that's desperate to go out there and make some kind of crazy move and start giving up on assets like Wiseman that I think they really do truly believe in. So it's probably going to be a situation where they keep one or both of those picks, they make selections with them, they get some value out of Oubre, and they start to build up the competency of this roster, or they trade 7 and 14 for a really good player, not like an all-star, but a good player, and then you add that to Wiggins, Wiseman, Draymond, Klay, and Steph, and all of this centers around the development of Wiseman if he stays, and, of course, the health of Klay Thompson. If, like Kevin Durant just showed it, if you can shoot the basketball, maybe you can come back and be almost what you were before, or in Kevin Durant's case, basically what you were before. And Klay, you know, what we don't know if he's going to be the same defensively. And KD has a tremendous amount of length and just ridiculous skill to kind of carry him, even if he is suffering a little bit from the Achilles injury. But between the Achilles stuff and the knee stuff, I wouldn't blame you if you had reservations about what Klay Thompson is going to potentially be for this upcoming season. But the bottom line for Golden State is, I think that they understand that their window might be a little bit small here when it comes to top tier title contention, but they're not a franchise that's going to panic. They're not a franchise that is going to make a desperate move and give up on an asset in Wiseman that I do still think that they value pretty highly. So at the end of the day, I think that even though they're intriguing and they're going to be involved in everything, the move that Golden State makes this offseason might not be as dramatic as everybody is hoping it will be. It might not be a Simmons trade, as cool as that would be. It might not be a Lillard trade, as awesome and amazing as that would be to have him and Steph play together. It seems like it might be something a little bit more in the middle and potentially way more beneficial to them in the long term, where if they do turn 7 and 14 into a solid player and they keep the Wiseman asset and he becomes something really good. I mean, think about what we thought about DeAndre Ayton 2 years ago, and now this guy's walking into 20 and 10s in the finals. I'm not saying that that's what James Wiseman is going to be. He's got a long, long way to go, but I think it would be a mistake for them as well as for us as fans to just write off Wiseman as a zero and assume that they don't value him just because it seems like publicly maybe the rest of the league or the media or whatever the case may be doesn't value Wiseman the way that Golden State does. So we'll see what they do moving forward. I'm really invested in Golden State being good again because I love Steph. I love watching peak Steph, and I miss those like 2014, 2015, 2016 Warriors teams pre-KD where the ball movement was crazy and a guy's running up and down the floor and everybody could shoot the ball. Those teams were really, really fun, and we got a crazy Steph season last year, but I'm hoping we get like the full Warriors machine like up and running next year. And I think they have the ability to do that. I'm just really interested to see kind of what path they take to potentially get there. But that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like rating on it. Consider subscribing as well. And check out the boxes on screen as well for more videos from me. And consider subscribing for more NBA content every single day. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. And I will see you all next time.